I've been looking for a way out, running around with my head down, my pride in the ground. They told me I was only burden bound. Now I walk the line on the higher ground, my pride in the clouds, while they keep running in circles. While they keep running in circles. While they keep running in circles.
Mr. Private here for Solutions for My Life. Thank you for joining us, folks. Today we have a groundbreaking show for you. We're going to be revealing the long-hidden secrets of how to get your kids back from CPS. More importantly, we're going to be revealing how to force CPS to give you your kids back. Now, the best secrets are often hidden in plain sight, and this is no different. This is something that when you hear it, you're going to say, oh my God, it's so obvious. How did I never see this before? And none of us have seen this before because, like I said, it's been hidden in plain sight, in the law, right there in black and white. Now, this is not something that we threw together overnight. This is something that has taken us years and years to put together and figure out. At this point, I have over 7 years of study in law. When combined with my many partners, we have over 70 years of combined experience and study. In about 20 minutes, you are going to know the secret of how to force CPS to give you your kids back. But first, I want everybody who is listening to this to realize the extreme seriousness of the situation with kids being taken by CPS and the danger that they're put in. For those who don't already know, here's a short clip. Let's check it out.
Normally, when a baby is taken into the custody of Child Protective Services, it's meant to temporarily remove them from a potentially bad situation and put them into a safe environment. That's why the parents of 2-year-old Alexandria Hill were in utter disbelief in July when they got word that their daughter had died after suffering a serious brain injury, and that the foster care provider taking care of their daughter had been charged with murder.
This article from the Kansas City Star: how did 70-plus children go missing from the Kansas foster care system? Guys, you'll remember Senator Nancy Schaefer, who exposed the CPS stealing kids, and when she named the names, she lost her life.
I served in the Georgia State Senate, and after 4 years of viewing the ruthless and unsparing actions of Child Protective Services, also called CPS, which I will use tonight, I wrote a scathing report entitled "The Corrupt Business of Child Protective Services." The report cost me my Senate seat.
Friends, it also cost her her life.
This is a heartbreaking story, and as you can imagine, devastating for any parent. There are over 100,000 active missing person cases in the U.S. at any given time. And that is just the U.S., just the United States alone. And out of that number, of the 692,944 people reported missing in 2010, 531,928 were under the age of 18, according to the National Crime Information Center. Now that's just the active cases. Just the ones that have been reported and are active. The actual number of missing teens and kids is much, much higher. When they're stolen, sold into slavery, sold into sex slavery, when they're, whatever abuse is happening to them and they disappear, no matter what it is, they're all thrown into the category of missing people, missing teens, or runaways. It's a catch-all. So they don't really have to explain the details of each individual case, and they don't, the public doesn't have to think any more about it other than to hear someone say that these are all runaway cases, and the general population doesn't think anymore about it. They just think, oh, these are, just runaways. But the majority of these people, these kids and teens, are never seen again. They are gone. They never find a body. They never find anything. They are gone. Now, there's a documentary called Boys Town Conspiracy of Silence. If you haven't seen it and you're a parent, it's a must watch. This is information that is heartbreaking, to see that people that are evil, that are taking kids and abusing them, it's just heartbreaking that, to realize that there's that kind of evil in the world. But when you know what's going on, you can better protect yourself and better protect your family, your kids. So it's information that I think you should all be aware of. To really understand how to get your kids back from CPS, you have to understand what gives them the authority and jurisdiction to take your kids in the first place. And also, it's the same thing that gives them the authority and jurisdiction to put you in jail. It's the same thing that gives them the authority and jurisdiction to hold you liable for over 200,000 new codes and statutes that come out from the United States on loan from Unidroit, a company called Unidroit that they're leased to. For, I think they pay something like $10,000 a year or $100,000 a year to use these codes and statutes. And this is all these codes and statutes that are being put out that you're expected as a citizen to follow or get hit with a fine and go to jail. Now you have to understand, these are all foreign codes and statutes. The United States is foreign. It is a foreign corporation, not to be confused with the United States of America and its actual real government. Those are two separate entities, very, very different. One is domestic and a government for the people, and the other is a foreign corporation that offers government services. Now, this is where a lot of people get confused, and for good reason, because we've never actually been taught in school what the difference between these two entities are. And, it doesn't take a whole lot to figure out that, all of this boils down to we were never taught how the system works because of greed. The ignorance of the people has made the shareholders of this foreign corporation billions and trillions of dollars at this point. We were never taught the truth. Our parents were never taught the truth. Our grandparents, and in some cases great-grandparents or great-great-grandparents, were never taught the truth. And, most people go through life just collecting what they hear, what people say in the public, what they hear on TV or see on, court shows, and they think that's the law. They think that's how court works. And nothing could be farther from the truth. I've researched just about every topic known to man at this point, and I've researched even the far out weird and strange UFO technology, cover-ups, conspiracy, aliens, alternative history, ancient Sumerians and Planet X and all that stuff. And I have to tell you, the strangest thing by far that I have ever studied is what I discovered when I began to study law. If you've never studied law, I urge you to please do so. Educate yourself, read your state's constitution, read the Bill of Rights, read the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, read USC Title 18, read Title 50. You really should know these things like the back of your hand. And if you don't, you're not going to know how to protect your rights. Now, we do offer also a completely free re-education course on our website, solutionsformylife.wix. There's a link in the description box down below. Check it out. We have tons of videos that are all free. Go in there, watch the videos, educate yourself so you can become better than the lawyers. Now, a lawyer is never going to have the power or authority to do what you can do in court. I'll tell you that right now. A lawyer will never have the jurisdiction or authority to do what you can do in court. All the lawyers that are part of the bar, part of the Lawyers Guild and all that, they have a foreign oath they cannot go against. And that foreign oath means that they have to always do what is in the best interest of the United States Foreign Corporation. They cannot legally fight for your rights. And if they're being honest with you, they'll tell you that. But most of them, as you know, are not the most honest. But that's besides the fact. Anyway, so I mean, I can't remember 200,000 new codes every year, and I don't know anybody who can. So it's ridiculous to agree to give your consent to be part of a system like that. And believe me, it's all consent. These codes and statutes are all prima facie. They all, because they're foreign codes and statutes, they're enforced under color of law and not because they're not the actual law. Now, because of this, they need your consent for these codes and statutes to apply to you. And that over the years, they are extremely good at using different strategies to manufacture your consent if you don't outright give it to them. One example that a lot of people fall for is if you have any interactions with a cop, he'll say, yada, 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 do you understand? And most people will say, yes, yes, I understand. Right there, you just handed over jurisdiction, you just lost. Because you told him you understand. You stand under his authority. That's what you're saying when you say yes. A lot of people fall for that trick. And this is just one of many tricks that they have. They'll threaten you with contempt in court if you have not done step one that we're going to go over here in a minute. If you try to claim that you're an American or you're a citizen and you can't do this or that, I have constitutional rights, and then the judge threatens you with contempt and you don't understand why, it's because you didn't do step one. Now, what's step one? Well, step one is correcting your status. Now, your status isn't necessarily incorrect, but it is. It is, but it isn't. Now, it's not what you want it to be, that much is sure. And it's not what you want it to be because you never did the first thing you needed to do. And what I'm talking about is the thing that gives the state the authority and jurisdiction to take your kids and put you in jail if they want. Now, what is that, you're asking? Just tell me already. Well, folks, think about it. What is it down the road that gives them the authority and jurisdiction to take your kids or put you in jail? They can't take anything that's not already theirs, because if they did, it would be stealing, and that's illegal, right? So somewhere down the road in law, what they're doing, they're only able to do it because somewhere they're able to claim ownership of you and your kids. Now, what is it down the road that allows them to do that? What is it? And if you think long and hard about it and do a few years or more of really hard study in law, you might be lucky enough to figure it out as we have. And the thing that gives them the authority and jurisdiction, the thing that got you into this mess, is the same thing that gets you out, and that is the birth certificate and certificate of live birth. That document is extremely important. You can only have, they changed the requirements or the law on that a while back, and it used to be you could get quite a few copies, I think 25 or so, but now you can only request, I think it's 7 copies in a lifetime of that document. So these are valuable, and it's not just that, not because they're limited to 7 copies, but a birth certificate or certificate of live birth, look at the paper it's printed on. It's printed on bond paper, and it'll even say somewhere on that document, this is a treasury note. This is a treasury note. It's a bond. It is extremely valuable. Now, we're not going to get into so much the value of this on this show, but I just want you to realize these things are extremely valuable. America is the land of opportunity. If you read the law to understand where the opportunity is. Now, this birth certificate and certificate of live birth, these are titles. This is the certificate and receipt for an event that happened when you were born and when your kids were born. Now, if you were not born those things would not exist. They would not exist without the event of you being born. Now, the birth certificate is based on the certificate of live birth, because first came the living, breathing little girl or little boy. Now, those certificates are certificates of title. They are an indemnification receipt. They're your ticket out. They are the title to a creation of what's known as a legal fiction or a creature of law. Now, this legal fiction, which all legal fictions, all corporate names, they are all written in all capital letters without exception. If you ever see a name written in all capital letters, it's either one of two things without exception. It's either a corporation or it's a dead person. Those are the only two things it can be. In law, according to the writings and styles, that's what it is, without exception. If there's a name in reference to a living, real man or woman, it's going to be written in proper English, last comma, first, middle. Now, if you're walking around thinking that all capital letter name is you, you've already lost. You have to re-educate yourself if that's how you're thinking, and see these things for what they are and for what the law tells you they are. It's a title to a legal fiction. Now, this title is your piece. It's your game piece on the game board of life that they gave you to participate in commerce. Now, it's not necessarily a bad thing unless you have what's called abused it or never claimed it, which probably if you're listening to this call, you've never claimed it. You were never taught how to. You were never taught how to do step number one. Now, if you haven't claimed it, what happens is when the birth certificate and certificate of live birth are issued, the parents have 7 years to register that on the public record. If they fail to do so, then the true owners, which they are presumed to be lost or dead, and the state comes in and says, well, they haven't claimed it in 7 years, so I'm going to take silent judicial notice that this is now abandoned alien property and it's going to be under my control now. I'm going to now be the owner since the true owner is missing or dead or lost at sea as it's called. I say lost at sea because what we're dealing with is a corporation operating out of maritime jurisdiction, law of the sea. Even though they're on land, this is all merchant law of the merchant operating out of maritime jurisdiction. This is not law of the land. This is maritime jurisdiction, folks. Now, when you fail to take your kid's title and have it put on the public record with you as the owner, like I said, the state comes in to claim ownership, and from then on, everything that you do with that name is in violation. Because essentially, if you ever go into court claiming to be that name, but you haven't registered it on the public record, you're essentially claiming property that has already been claimed by the state because the true owner failed to claim it. So you're essentially claiming property that is no longer yours. So when you go in, you're looked at as a belligerent or a combatant. You're trying to steal property that is owned by the state or the United States. And until you do this, you don't have, those certificates of title, that is also your citizenship. That is so important because until you register that, you don't have a claim to any rights, to the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, or anything else. This is why people who are going into court yelling at the judge saying, I'm a citizen or I'm an American, I have rights, I have claim to the Constitution, you can't do this or that. And then the judge threatens you with contempt and puts you in jail. This is why that's happening. People don't understand that. This is why that's happening. Because you're trying to claim something that you don't have a claim to because you never did step one. If this is your first time hearing this information, I know it's a lot to take in. I know it's going to be very shocking for many of you. But the sooner you realize this, the sooner you can take the steps necessary to do what you need to do, correct your status, get your title, put it on the public record, and get your kids back. Now, it's a little more complicated than that, and I'm going to walk you through it right now. What you do, grab a pen and paper, take some notes, listen to this call a few times over. If you listen to this call a few times over if you have to. Now, step one, you're going to get a copy of your kid's birth certificate and certificate of live birth, and the same for yourself. Get your own certificate of live birth and birth certificate. Now, once you can get those from Vital Records. If you don't know where the nearest Vital Records is in your county, or you don't have one near you, go online, do a Google search, and find out how much it's going to cost to order those documents and order them online. Make sure that you order a certified copy only, because just a normal copy does not hold up in a court of law. It has to be a certified copy. Once you have those in your possession, you're going to send that to the the Secretary of State for the state in which those documents were created, wherever it was you were born or your kids were born. You're going to send it off to the Secretary of State to have it authenticated, not apostille, but authenticated. And there's a small fee for that, like $7 or something. It's not very much. Make sure you include a prepaid return envelope so they can send you back your documents when they're ready. When you get those back, you're going to send it off to the Department of State to have it authenticated again. And this time, since you're sending it to the Department of State, this is an authentication at the federal level. So now you're going to have an authentication at the state level, which is the one from the Secretary of State, and the federal level from the Department of State. And when you get that back, you are now going to, when you have that document in your hand, you will have perfected your interest in that title. You will now have become the holder in due course of that title, of that private property. And nobody else, not the state, not CPS, or anyone else, can make a claim to that title because you have that title. You can show it, you can prove it in court, you can enter that into your case. But it doesn't stop there. That's not the end of step one. All right, so once you have the double authenticated certificates of live birth and birth certificate, you're going to pair those documents with a few other documents that we go into on our website. You're going to get them all together. It's about 6 documents total. And you're going to go down to the county recorder's office to have it recorded. Now, this is how you record something on the public record. This is how you register it on the public record. You go down to the county recorder's office, and it doesn't matter what county recorder's office you go to. If they give you a hard time and for any reason don't want to record your birth certificate, as some people have had issues with, just go to a different county. You don't have to go in person. You can mail it in, and eventually, you're going to get it recorded on the public record. So if you have any problems at your first attempt, don't be discouraged. Just go somewhere else. Not a big deal. All right. So that's step one. Okay. Now once you've done that, you can move on to step 2. Once you have those documents recorded, you'll get a recording number. You can take that number and put that into your case. And once those documents and that recording number, once that recording number is entered into your case, both CPS and the state are going to be able to see very clearly that the true owner of those titles has come forward and claimed it, and they no longer have a claim against your private property. And if they don't give you your kids back at that point, then you can step forward and bring a claim against the state. And it's no longer suing them at that point, because you will have, by doing this process, you'll have standing in court. So now you can bring forward a proper valid claim. And if they don't give you back what is your private property, now you can bring charges against them for tort of trespass and taking your private property, theft, damaging your private property if they've hurt your kids from abuse or mercury in the vaccines or whatever else, kidnapping, trafficking, severe emotional damage, and the list goes on. I mean, we're talking about fines that very quickly rack up to the millions, and they're not going to want to hang on to your private property the second you do this. You're probably going to have your kids back in 2 or 3 weeks after you do this with an apology for taking them in the first place. Now, step 2, we're not done yet. Step 2 is 6 more documents, and these documents are going to be sent to the Department of Justice. And I'll go further into step 2 because that's a little bit more in depth. I don't have time to go over it all in this video. I'm trying to make this video as short as possible. I really just want to explain to you what it is that the state is using to get the authority and jurisdiction over your kids and yourself, so that you know how to correct that. So we'll go into step 2 on our website. Just go to our website, solutionsformylife.wix. There's a link down below in the description box. From the homepage, you'll see a button that says Get Access. Get Access Now. Click that button. That'll take you to a place where you'll be able to download a document to get the password to get full access into our template vault. Once you're in our template vault, you'll be able to access the CPS strategy document that I'm talking to you about right now. In that document, I take you through the whole process, step by step, very slowly. Nobody's going to be left behind. If you guys have any questions, if it's a simple question I can answer in a few seconds or a few minutes, shoot me an email from our contact page. If it's a more in-depth question that requires more explaining, I'll ask that you sign up for a consultation. It does take me a few weeks to get back to people on messages. We get a lot of questions, and I'm a very busy person, but I'm trying to get back to everybody as quick as I can. But right now, a reply takes me probably about 2 or 3 weeks. If you're having an emergency and you need a consultation, the quickest way to get a hold of us in that case is simply to order a consultation. You'll get our phone number in that order form. Once payment is received, you'll be able to download a document that has our phone number in it. You can give us a call, leave us a voicemail letting us know who you are, why you're calling. We don't answer phone calls from unknown numbers, so call us from a regular phone line that has an ID available. If you can't do that, leave us a voicemail so we know who you are and why you're calling. And we will give you a call back just as soon as we can, usually within an hour or so, to go ahead and schedule the time that we can sit down and talk one-on-one and go over your situation. We have solutions for just about everything under the sun that you can think of. We have tons of templates available. We have lots of videos. We have some free videos. Actually, we have a lot of free videos. We have a step-by-step video also that shows the step 1 or part of step 1, that is the birth certificate authentication process. We're putting that out there for free, so please check that out. There's a link for that also in the description box down below. So there you go. Less than 30 minutes. You've just been given pretty much everything you need to know on how to get your kids back from CPS. Like I said, more importantly, how to force them to give you your kids back. And it's all about the chain of title. It's all about property. I know nobody wants to think of their kids as a commodity or their private property, but in this world, that title is everything. And if you think you're the title, like I said, you've already lost. You are not a citizen. Get that out of your head. You are not a citizen. You have a citizenship. You have a citizenship. You are not the game piece. You have a game piece on the game board of life. you have a game piece. Okay, folks? You have a title that you can use or not use whenever you want. That title is yours. It was created for you. It was always intended for you. They just never taught you how to step forward and claim it so that it could actually work for you and help you instead of hinder you. Please hit that like button down below. Share this information. Make it viral. Don't forget to subscribe. Let's see how many families that we can help put back together and help heal. Let's see how many kids that we can keep from ever having to be taken by CPS in the first place. Let's see how many we can bring home. Okay, folks, this is extremely important. And if you watch that documentary, Boys Town Conspiracy of Silence, you'll see that where these kids are disappearing to, they're not just running away. These kids are being taken. And the investigation that was done concluded that, before the investigation was shut down, it concluded that the people who were taking the kids, and mostly it's younger children, it was an elite put together organization that spans the country and beyond. And the people who were in charge are people who were sitting in some of the highest political seats of power. And when that was discovered, the entire investigation was shut down. All right, folks, this is not a joke. You and I know that there are dark forces in this world that are at work. And, you know, we're just out, some of us are just out there trying to do our best to teach you how to protect your kids, protect your family. And in this case, stop trying to claim property that's not yours because you haven't put a claim to that title. Please do step number 1, do step number 2, make a claim on the record, show that you're the true owner of that title. This is the number 1 strategy that I have seen work for people. Now, if you're somebody who actually made a mistake for whatever reason and you actually did abuse your kids in whatever way, physically, this probably isn't going to work for you because that falls under some different laws. But if you're somebody who has a valid, you're a valid, loving parent just trying to protect your kids, you might have a substance abuse problem or whatever, but those types of problems, as long as you're not physically hurting your kids, this process, I think you will have probably 99.999% a chance of success with. If you're a good, loving parent, this is probably going to work for you. I'm not going to say 100% and guarantee that it will, because every case is slightly different, but I've seen the most success with this. This is your best chance of correcting the mistake that is the chain of title going abandoned 7 years after it was created, because you were never taught how to claim it on the public record so that the entire world can know this is my private property. I'm the true owner. I've claimed it. Leave it alone. In a lot of cases, we have parents out there that are, treating their kids with cannabis oil, medicinal cannabis from marijuana, or things of that nature, to treat seizures and other things. And it's nobody's business, really. If you want to treat your kids with that to help them with their seizures and everything else, in those, especially those types of cases, it's heartbreaking. The state or someone else comes in and takes your kids because you're trying to give them what they need to live a good, healthy life, and it's just heartbreaking. So again, make this information viral, get it out there, spread it, share it, and again, please subscribe, and please consider making a donation to our website. You go to the home page, scroll down to the bottom of the page, you'll see a donation link. It is only because of your generous donations that we're able to continue to do what we do in helping people, that we're able to have the time we need to continue to study and put these YouTube videos together, put all the documents together that we have, all of our templates we have on our site, that we have the time we need to work on our website. That way we can make sure all the latest information that we have is available to you to help people. So again, please consider making a donation. And Don't forget to like and subscribe. So that's our show for today, and I wish you the best success in your cases out there. We'll see you again soon with another groundbreaking show, bringing you more of information like this forward, bringing you more solutions for your life to correct whatever issues that you're having so that you can live a good, prosperous life. And, we're out there doing this because we want to make every home a happy home. And so please, again, like, share, subscribe. Please hit that donate button. Help us to continue doing what we're doing. All right, that's our show for today. Thank you and God bless.
I've been looking